A girl and her Nanook. Nanook, Nanook. No, it's spelled Nanuq. Nanook. Anyway, interesting story. This lady who was being interviewed, her brother was attacked by a bear when he was out hunting, and luckily he was able to get to his knife and he defended himself and killed the bear. And shortly after, realized that it was a mother. And to these people, they always made sure to never kill a mother. It was very sacred to them to leave the mother intact because it's obviously going to be taken care of. It's children, it's young. So he actually had to go before the council of this community, and he was charged with the task of taking care of the bear's child. And they actually grew up with the bear and took care of him. And the bear actually escaped and got to the dog food. And they were like, all right, you need to go out and teach him how to survive in the wild. And so that's a really interesting thing. It today, like, you people wouldn't even think about that. They would call some kind of service to come and get the thing and take it somewhere, and then it'd be in a cage for whatever, and then people would finally come and get it and hopefully take care of it. Maybe build it up to where it could survive, and then hopefully it could survive out in the wilderness or on its own. But we're not connected to nature as much as we once were. And I mean, it's unfortunate, I guess, in few ways. Like, we should care about the other things that live on this planet other than ourselves. Yeah, we're human beings. We can speak. We have good languages that are set up, and there are other aspects of our humanity that separate us from the animals. But all in all, we're still animals. And I think that we should take a little bit more care of those that are around us, at least. At least a start. If you see something, try to help it out in the best way that you can. And if that means calling somebody about it, then call somebody about it to come, help. Um, I mean, I don't suggest going out and picking up a bear and trying to help it or trying to raise it, because that could be dangerous. But there's a lot of things that are kind of connecting with me here. I like nature. I mean, it's not like I'm a tree hugging hippie or anything, but the wildlife, it interests me. It's probably, I mean, the beard probably lends itself to that, right? But anyway, the video was about, without putting my own things into it, the video was just about that story and about their connection to the wild and how it was sacred to not kill a mother, and to always make sure that there was somebody there to keep that kind going, and to make sure that it wasn't going to end by just simply killing something, because we can survive several different ways. And he was trying to protect his life in the heat of the moment, but in the end he took the mother away from two children. It's rough. It's rough. But he, made well on it and raised the cub as kind of a brother or a pet. Interesting. It's cool. It's very, very cool. So this next video talked about subsistence lifestyle is the title of it, actually, but it spoke more about the community and the camaraderie that came from hunting and gathering, that it wasn't all about feeding your family and you going out to get your caribou to feed your family and blah blah blah. It's going out and getting, whatever it is that you're hunting, and bringing it back, and noting that the elders need to eat, and sharing amongst the community, bringing back not only for your family but for the people that live around you. And it's like my apartment building. Like, if I were to go to Kroger and buy groceries for everybody in the building, there'd be like a weird, like, I don't know if I'm gonna take your groceries, but it was normal there. They went out to the world's Kroger. My God, it's awful. And hunt and bring back food for everyone, not just yourself, or not just your wife, or not just your kids, and not just your husband, or not, it was more about sharing amongst the community and multiple families and taking care of everyone, not just yourself. And that plays back to all the things that they've been saying, is that their whole community and their whole lifestyle is very interdependent. It's not focused on the one, it's focused on the whole. You know, the whole. The whole is, I guess, a fist if this is the one. Um, about supporting each other and surviving together. Everything is alive. It's creepy. No, it's good. It's more speaking along the lines of having respect for everything, all the things, all the things. Having respect for what you hunt and bring home, to make sure that you prepare it properly, you cook it properly, and you feed properly. To remember that water is the source of the ice that you hunt on, that is beneath your feet, and water is what flows through the plants and the berries that you pick, and remember that the water is also flowing through the other creatures that you are killing in order to survive yourself. And it's to remember that everything all at once is alive, and it comes from, you know, a source of, well, it all focuses on a source of life, and to just have respect for it and to treat it with care. The title of this one tells a lot of the same story that the other videos have kind of been delivering to us. It's called Sharing for Survival. Essentially, it talks about that, making sure to always remember that if long ago, if you know the ancestor or your ancestors or the people that you came from did not share, then they wouldn't have made it through the harsh environment that you live in today, or that they lived in then, and you wouldn't be here. And people were just brought up to give, and that's just the way you live. You live to give, you give to live, and you just take care of each other. It's a very core theme that runs through all of this information that I can feel with the Inupiat and Inuit and everybody they're speaking about. It's just the community is the most important thing. Don't worry about yourself, worry about others as a whole. I think I just did this earlier, the one and the you get it. So cool. Next one. So next is a video about King Island, which was actually a level in the game, if I remember correctly. There was a chapter called King Island, and I remember, I'll get to that in a second. They were talking about the housing there and the community there, because of the ice and because of the water, probably because of the tides. The houses are built up on stilts. They're raised. Some of them are 50, 60 feet in the air. Now, if you remember, cut to the video footage, that there was a hole that was in a house at one point, and I fell, and I was like, I didn't deserve to die, because I was all frustrated with the game at that point. Yeah, probably did, because there was a little girl falling 50, 60 feet to my death. So, totally accurate. So I apologize. But King Island apparently is one of 3 islands that are the stepping stones to get to America. They lead down to America. And King Island apparently is now a growing community. People are returning there and reclaiming land and their homes back on that island. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So this is an interesting tale about the Northern Lights that I've never heard before. They said that when they were kids, their mother, they would go outside and their mom would just whistle when the Northern Lights would come out. And you just keep whistling, and you see this movement, and it's kind of like the noise it invoked into people that they kind of felt like it was making. And apparently, a tale told is that the Northern Lights were actually children who had died. So people died when they were young, and the children up there, it's not that they were trying to do bad, but they were always trying to have fun. They were always trying to play, and that if you went outside without your hood on, that they'd play football with your head. That's not me making something up. That's from the video. That is something that people were told when they were younger. Seems like a way to, keep your kids in line, but at the same time, I gotta respect folklore and tales that were told. I respect that stuff immensely. I love it. I love the stories that people come up with, the reasons for why things are in the world. And that's an incredible idea, that the spirits are dancing across the skies, still having fun, because they died as children. So they've still got that childlike sensibility and that mentality that's stuck with them beyond life. And so they're still just trying to have fun. It's not like they're trying to do bad things, but apparently they'll rip your head off, play sports with it. I think this video specifically plays into some of the style choices for Never Alone, and the art that was the art style that was tackled. It's called The Month of Night, and it talks about the month of November, where there's no moon in Alaska, or no sunlight in Alaska, where it's basically just the moon in the sky, and they travel by the light of the moon. And so everything was silver and black, they'd described it as, and there were a lot more silhouettes than usual, and they would spot caribou on the horizon simply because you could see their body heat radiating upward into the moonlight, into the silver light. And if somebody yelled or said something, you could, obviously tell where the yell was coming from, but you would also be able to identify them by the breath, by the fog of their breath that was lifting up. So I think there was that plays into more of the lifestyle and the culture once again, but it kind of seems to have influenced some of the style choices. Everything is very I think most of the game was fairly dark, and there was a lot of depth. You could see out into this silver and black fog and things like that. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but it seems like I remember those things kind of showing up in game. Cool. I've always wondered about that, about what it's like to live when the sun doesn't come out, and apparently it was a great time for travel, is what they've said. So it's cool. I like it. Animal Spirits, the next video title, talks about how there's no hierarchy. I think I actually touched on this in a previous comment about us all being equal. We're all animals, it's not just like everything else and then man up here. And that's one thing that he was talking about, like we're all on the level, and that animals actually have the ability to be seen in human form, and they want to be seen in human form, and they have a lot to teach humans, and they want to teach us, but we're not sometimes willing to see it and not willing to hear it. There's a story about a man who came up to an ice hole for fishing, ice fishing hole hut, and there's a man stuck inside of a net. He's like, "Can you help me? Can you please get me out?" And the man helps him out and gets him out of it. And once he gets him out, he realizes that he was actually a seal caught in the net, but he was using like his human form to get help from to be freed. It's an interesting idea. It's something I always thought about when I was a kid. Not exactly them taking human form, being able to communicate with animals on a little bit more personal level than sit, stay, fetch, eat, whatever. And so it's a really cool idea and part of the folklore or beliefs. It's got magical properties, which I'm very much into. I love fantasy and I love magic, and seeing some of that actually exists within our world. I mean, whether that actually is true within our world or not. Of course, people are like, "No, of course it doesn't." Well, I'm still a kid at heart. I try to think that there's a little bit of magic in the world. And to think that there's a whole culture of people that can believe in something like that, or can feed into something like that, it's fun. It's nice. It keeps things fresh and mystical when the world is quite drab at times.